always enjoyed late night walks. There's something about the stillness that makes everything feel simpler. I'm a welder by trade, been doing it for over 40 years now. I live alone on a big farm, just me and my dog, Bosley. The house is too large for one person, but I never had the heart to downsize after my wife Maria passed away. My kids moved out years ago, and ever since cancer took her, it's just been me and Bosley. One night, after a long day in the shop, I decided to go for a walk. My property is pretty big, so just a single loop is usually enough to satisfy my craving. The air was cool, and Bosley trotted along beside me. Sometimes I think he likes me more than I like him. I've walked that loop hundreds of times, but as I was heading back toward the house, something caught my eye. I glanced up at the second-story window, the one that looks out from the bedroom Maria and I used to share. For a split second, I thought I saw something move. I stopped dead in my tracks, staring up at that window. There was no reason anyone should be in there. I hadn't been in that room in years. Couldn't bring myself to. I felt my blood start to boil at the thought of some stranger breaking into my house. I wasn't going to stand for that. I rushed inside, my heart racing, and ran upstairs. The room was empty, just like I'd left it. No sign of anything out of place. I looked everywhere imaginable, but found nothing. Yes, I was pretty freaked out, but I was more angry than anything. I didn't take this kind of thing lightly. I figured I had just seen something that wasn't there. I stood there for a while, feeling foolish, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been there. The next night, I woke up to Bosley growling. He's a good dog, never barks unless there's something to bark at. I sat up in my bed, listening. That's when I heard creaking coming from upstairs. It could have just been the sounds of my old house, but my mind went directly to footsteps, which were coming from right above me. I'm sure you could guess which room is directly above mine. I debated grabbing my hunting rifle from downstairs, but didn't want to go that far. If it came down to it, I was fully confident that I could take whatever was up there hand to hand. I grabbed my flashlight and went to check. Again, nothing. The room was exactly the same, untouched. My anger was definitely starting to turn into anxiety at this point. Something didn't feel right in the house. The following night, I came downstairs to find the kitchen lights on. I know I turned them off before bed. I don't leave lights on. There was no question anymore. Someone was in my house. I started to panic. I called the police and told them I thought someone might be sneaking around. They came out, searched the house from top to bottom, but found nothing. They were nice about it, told me to call again if I needed them, but I could tell they didn't believe me. The next night was the worst by far. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to go upstairs and check the bedroom again. I don't know why. Maybe I thought it would settle my mind. But when I opened the door, I froze. There were clothes scattered all over the floor. Maria's clothes. I had packed them away after she died. Now they were everywhere. Something like this doesn't just happen randomly. And then I saw her. There was a woman standing in the doorway, just staring at me. I couldn't see her face clearly, but I could tell she wasn't Maria. She was too short. I don't know who she was, but she didn't belong there. I had never been so afraid in my life. Without thinking, I ran at her. She turned and bolted down the stairs and out the front door. By the time I got outside, she was gone. I searched the property with Bosley, but there was no trace of her. I didn't sleep that night. For months after that, I couldn't sleep. I was constantly on edge, convinced I heard footsteps upstairs at night. Every little noise set me off. I slept with my rifle next to my bed, terrified that I'd have to use it one night. Every little noise set me off. I debated calling my brother to come stay with me, but I wasn't going to do that. I was raised to always handle my own, so that's what I did. The nightmare didn't end though. One night, I was sitting in the living room when I noticed a figure standing in the yard, looking straight at me through the window. It was her again. My heart felt like it stopped. I grabbed my hunting rifle and ran outside, Bosley close behind. She was still there, just a silhouette in the moonlight, watching me. I fired a few warning shots into the air, hoping to scare her off. That was enough to get her to turn and run into the darkness, but it's not like that made me feel any better. I was literally being tormented by some random woman who was probably homeless. I couldn't even imagine why this was happening to me. I stood there for a long time, waiting to see if she'd come back. She never did. I haven't seen her since, but I know it's only a matter of time. I'm fully prepared to defend myself, but I don't think living in perpetual anxiety like this is sustainable. Thank God for Bosley. I have no idea what I'd do without him. I'll send an update if anything happens. I work for a catering service, which means I'm on the road a lot, usually late at night. My job has me driving this massive truck, unloading trays of food and setting up events for people I'll never meet. It's not glamorous. The hours drain me, and the loneliness eats at me. By the time I get home, I either crash instantly or lie awake for hours, my veins buzzing with caffeine. One night, around 2 a.m, I was finally heading back in my own car. For once, I was looking forward to just collapsing in bed. But as I pulled off the highway, I realised I was both starving and too wired to sleep. I spotted the glowing arches of a McDonald's a few blocks down. The drive-thru was empty. I pulled up, placed my order, and rolled forward. That's when I noticed something strange. The cashier window was open, the light was on, but nobody was there. "Hello," I called. Silence. I leaned out my window and saw movement inside. A figure stood near the fryer, facing away from me. They were wrong somehow. Their arms hung too long, stretching nearly to their knees. Their head was tilted at an unnatural angle, twitching slightly, like they were listening to something I couldn't hear. Can I get my food?" I said, trying to laugh it off. Slowly, the figure turned. Its face wasn't a face at all. Just smooth skin, no mouth, no eyes. But still, I felt it looking at me. My stomach dropped. I floored it out of there, tires screeching as I shot back onto the empty road. I didn't stop until I was parked in front of my house, chest heaving, hands shaking. The next day, I drove past that same McDonald's. It was boarded up, the sign removed. A police sign hung crookedly in the window. But I'd just been there, hours ago. I used to drive rideshare at night for extra cash. The money was decent, but the night shifts were brutal. Drunks, sketchy neighbourhoods, weird conversations. I'd seen it all, or at least I thought I had. One night, around 3 a.m, I got a ping for a pickup on the edge of town. It was a dark, rural stretch of road. No houses, no streetlights, just farmland and woods. When I pulled up, a man was standing there in the ditch. He wore a black suit, completely spotless, even though the ground was muddy. He slid into the back seat without a word. No destination. The app just said, "Ride in progress." "Where to?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just leaned forward, close enough for me to see his reflection in the rearview mirror. But here's the thing. In the mirror, He wasn't sitting in the back. He was right behind me, staring directly into my eyes. My breath caught. I whipped my head around. He was still sitting calmly in the seat, facing forward. I tried to keep driving, but every time I looked at the mirror, the reflection inched closer. First over my shoulder, then beside me. Finally, it was grinning in the passenger seat. I slammed the brakes and spun around. The car was empty. The door had never